For example, when this old sister-in-law was taking a bath, she suddenly felt some stinging on her thigh. She reached out and scratched it at will, but she felt a strange touch. Her skin melted like paraffin wax and began to deform under her fingertips, and the old sister-in-law was frightened, but in the next second everything was back to normal. She realized that she might be too tired and hallucinating, so she told her boyfriend about it, but her boyfriend just felt that she should have been under too much mental pressure recently, and persuaded her to rest well. But at night, when the old sister-in-law was sleeping, she suddenly woke up for no reason. Although she is now conscious, her body is unable to move. At this moment, a little spicy doll suddenly walked in from the corner of the door. Her eyes were hollow and seemed to be full of malice, and the little spicy man slowly crawled onto her bed and walked towards her still. The woman was frightened when she looked at the spicy man's terrifying contention, but she couldn't make a sound. She could only watch the old pervert gently caress her long legs, and then with both hands she tore her long legs alive. However, the next second, when the woman woke up again, she was already lying in the hospital with a thick bandage on the place where her thigh was injured. When her boyfriend asked her what had happened, she simply said that there was something wrong with her work. The boyfriend said that the woman was a stop-motion animator and that since his mother had passed away, he had been trying to make some horror-themed stop-motion animation on his own. In order to make the characters in the animation more realistic, he even tried to make those dolls with human bodies so that a vivid work was completed. He designed a story for the animation about hiding monsters in the forest, but he didn't think the story was scary enough, and he started looking for inspiration in the forest late at night. As he became more and more involved in animation, his whole spirit seemed to sink into the story. He began to pick up the carcasses of some animals and then used the hair of those corpses to enrich the characters in his animations. Until one day, when he was working on an animation, a screeching doorbell broke the studio approach. Through the gap in the stairs, he saw a terrible monster slowly climbing up the stairs, and he was so frightened that he hurried back to the stairs. He suddenly felt that it might be his own delusion, until the dark shadow reappeared in the doorway, and he was so frightened that he hid back in his room. He hid in the doorway and covered his mouth tightly, not daring to make a sound, but the thing was just outside and hitting his anus again and again. But after a few moments, there was no movement outside the door. The woman trembled and looked out through the cat's eyes, and as a result the woman was so frightened that she fainted. When he woke up again, he found that it was all just his illusion and continued to complete his work. But then the table suddenly began to shake violently, and when he looked back he saw that he had taken a miniature shot. But at this moment the table suddenly began to violently shake. He turned around and saw that there was something unusual with his prop table used for filming the microscape. He walked over and gently dusted off the dirt on top, and suddenly the bloody eyes appeared before him. The woman was startled. At this point, the surface of the earth started to loosen, and something was slowly crawling out of it. The woman was so scared that she turned to run, but her legs suddenly broke off like weak paraffin wax. As the creature gradually approached, the woman suddenly turned into the little spicy man from his work. She started running madly for her life, squeezing into a small hole in a wall. Golden silk cloth lined the hole, but it was too small, and she could never escape. She was eventually caught by the monster, but the creature did not harm her, but instead spat out a black pill from its mouth and fed it to the woman to swallow. After swallowing the pill, the woman was in pain. But the monster had no intention of letting her go, just watching her make strange noises. The woman couldn't bear it any longer. She stretched her bloody hands to her face. The skin on her face was immediately cut off like melted paraffin wax. The woman fed herself entirely to the monster until she was completely eaten. When the woman woke up again, she found herself in the Black Forest. A cabin appeared before her. She opened the door and found it was the red cabin she designed for the little rotten man in the animation, with her death scene playing on the computer screen. The woman slowly walked to a box in the corner of the cabin and opened the box to find a coffin covered with golden silk cloth. The woman looked back and smiled, her smile full of satisfaction and desolation. Then she stepped into the coffin and gently closed the lid, completing the last frame of her work. Quick hands embrace every kind of life.